So once you have Blender set up, pretty much you can go ahead and open it, and this is what you're going to see, more or less. And it's going to give you some options on, what file we want to create, but we're pretty much going to be working in general this entire time. So just go ahead and click general. So, like I said before, if you do not know how to use Blender, please stop here and go look up a Blender Fundamentals tutorial. I will go over some hotkeys, but I do want you to know at least how to navigate Blender. Relatively easily and know what some of these buttons up here do before you jump into this, because it'll make it a lot easier for you to follow along with this tutorial. So please do that and then come back whenever you're ready. If you're back now, great. We need to clean our scene here. So I'm gonna hit A and I'm gonna hit delete to get rid of those things. And I want you to notice that I have this little tool down here, and this is going to tell you what buttons I'm pressing. So if you ever get confused, you can always back up and take a look down here and see what buttons I'm pressing, because it does list them in order. And another thing is I want you to notice that whenever I did delete it, I did not hit the backspace, because the backspace doesn't do anything. If you want to delete anything, you hit the delete key on your keyboard. The delete key is the universal key for Blender that deletes anything. So just be aware of that, and also know that sometimes you can accidentally hit it and delete something, but it happens. It's okay. So, all right, now that our scene is cleaned up, we don't have anything in our scene now, we need to go ahead and import our file from Studio. So I want you to go to File, Import, and Collada. And I want you to navigate to that folder where you stored your file. And here's our store file. Custom Normals is not selected, and import. All right, there he is, but there seems to be a little problem. He's not standing up, but that's okay. We will fix that. Right now, I'm actually just going to turn off face orientation for the moment. But again, we will go back to that here very soon. So first, we need to fix his orientation. He should not be laying down. And not only that, you see all these weird lines and everything. This is all data. This is all trash. We don't need any of this, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to hit A to select all. And then we're going to hit Alt-P. And this is going to open up this little box here. This is Clear Parent. And we're going to select Clear and Keep Transformation. If we just hit Clear Parent, that happens. And that we don't want that. We want it to keep its transformation. So we're going to do Clear and Keep Transformation. Cool. All right. So all those little lines are gone. That's awesome. But here's what they produced. This is what all those little lines were these little data things. And this is all junk. We don't need this. So we're just going to scroll down. Oh, this camera node too, we don't need that either. We're going to scroll down and we're just going to hit delete. We're going to delete all that. We got to go all the way down. These light nodes here, don't need them. Get rid of them. So you want to get rid of the .dat little things, the little triangular whatever, little gizmo. You want to get rid of that. We don't need it. It is not necessary. You don't even use it for anything, like for our current purposes. It's just data that's left over from what Studio had exported and what we imported into Blender. There's no real way to get rid of that. It's just there. Whatever. We don't care. We already got rid of it. It wasn't even that big of a deal. So now that that's gone, now we can fix his orientation. Before we do that, we're actually going to hit A to select all. We're going to go up to Object, and we're going to go down to Set Origin, Origin to Center of Mass by Volume. And what that's gonna do is it's going to make all of our object origins a lot better. And what I mean by that is it just resets the origin of the object so that it's like smack dab in the center of the part. And the reason why we want to do that is mainly for the torso, but you want to do that so that way if you are selecting something, it is right at the center of the mass, so you can rotate accordingly or move accordingly. It just makes it a lot easier to keep track. So the next thing you want to do is select the torso. And this is where we're going to use our 3D cursor. You see this little red and white thing right there? That's our 3D cursor. And we're actually going to move that cursor to the center of his torso. So we're going to select his torso, this little torso bone piece. And we're going to do Shift S. And it's going to open up this cool little pie. This is our 3D cursor pie. It's pretty nice. And we're going to go cursor to selected. What that's going to do, and this is why we set our origins a little bit ago, is it's going to move the cursor directly to the center mass of good old Stormer here. That's what we want. We want that to happen. So yeah, and as you can see from above view up here, he is off center. We need to make him center. And we're going to do that by using this next method, which is pretty cool. So now we're going to do Shift A, and we're going to add something. Also, alternatively, if you want to add something to a scene, you can go up here to add, and then here's all your things that you can add. But the hotkey for it is Shift A. So you're going to go over here to empty, cube, and now you're going to scale this cube up. And if you don't know, there's two ways to do it. You can either hit one of these little gizmos over here and scale it, but I prefer, honestly, to use the S key, and it kind of just uniformly scales everything for me. All right, so now once we scale it up so that he is all encompassed by this cube, now we are going to parent him to the cube. So we're going to do that by hitting A to select all again, and we're going to Shift select the cube so that the cube is light orange. So you notice how everything is dark orange? Well, the cube needs to be light orange. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do Control P, and this is going to open up another box. And this is different from your Alt P. The Alt P is to clear a parent. Control P is to create parents. And that's what we want to do in this instance. So we are going to parent him to the cube by selecting Object, Keep Transform. Oh, look, all those dotted lines are back. That's kind of crazy. That's cool, right? That'll be important later, don't worry. So now Stormer is attached to this cube. So wherever we move this cube, Stormer goes. He goes wherever this cube goes, and that's what we want. If anything, this is like really, really, really basic rigging. Like if you don't want to set up an armature and you just want to make a guy just, move around like that, you just parent him to a cube, and then there you go. You're done. He goes wherever the cube goes. Okay? So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to send our cursor back to the world origin. So we're going to go Shift S to access our pie again, and we're going to select cursor to world origin. Now, with our cube selected, just our cube, we don't want any part of him selected. We just want the cube selected. We're going to go Shift S again, and we're going to go selection to cursor. And I'm going to show you something really cool what that did. What that did was now he is perfectly centered. He is perfectly centered down this green line here. And that's what we want. We want him to be perfectly centered because that's going to make rigging a lot easier. So with that being said, now we actually need to upright him. So it's actually really simple. You select your cube, you go over here, and we're going to twist him 90 degrees in the x-axis. Nope. There we go. So I just used my hotkeys, but you can also kind of, do it there as well. It's pretty simple. But once we do that, now we actually need to move him up so that his feet are perfectly in line with that green line there. So it doesn't have to be super perfect, but it has to be kind of just like good enough so that whenever he's walking on a surface, it doesn't look like he's hovering over it or going through it. It just makes it a lot easier. So I'm going to be a little picky about it. I'm going to try and get it as perfect as possible. All right. Look at that. He's upright again. How about that? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to check which way that he's facing because he does need to be facing front. There's two ways to check that. The first way is to check your little thingy up here. I forget what this is called, but it's a thingy. So I'm gonna call it a thingy. So this thingy up here is kind of like your orientation thing. And whenever you click on it, it takes you to a specific view. So this is the back view, this is the side view, front view, side view, etc. So the one, the yellow, or sorry, the green, the green Y that has a negative on it is your front view. And you can check that by going up to view and then viewpoint and front. And as you can see, we're actually already in the front. And and then one last way, one final way, if you're really into using hotkeys, you can actually just use your numbers above your keyboard. Or sorry, your numpad. My apologies. So you use your numpad. So I think it's like 1, 2 for like a 3/4, 3 for your side, 4, 5. Yeah. So you can experiment with those, but typically if you want to go straight to front, you just go to 1. So yeah, no. So he is facing front, and that's good. That'll actually help our symmetry in the future. But yeah, now he's upright. So we don't need this box anymore. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit A to select everything again. And it doesn't matter what is light orange or what is selected, because all we're gonna do is we're gonna go Alt P, remember, Alt P to clear the parent. We're gonna go Alt P and we're gonna clear and keep transformation. All right. So this cube, delete it. We don't need it. It's gone. So now that it's gone, now what do we do next? Well, I'll tell you what we do next. We're going to turn on face orientation, and we're going to fix this glaring red problem. So how are we going to fix this red issue? Well, I can give you a hint. It's definitely not a texture issue. As I said, this is a normals issue. Or a face orientation issue. So all of our faces are inside out on all of these pieces. So we're just going to start with any piece. I'm actually going to start with this chest piece here, and I'm going to hide everything else. So we're going to go here, and again, if you don't know how to enter edit mode, I'd be happy to show you. So we're going to go up here to object mode with our object selected, and we're going to go into edit mode. Alternatively, if you love using hotkeys like I do, all you got to do is press the tab key. It's really that simple. So once you have entered edit mode, as you can see, this topology is awful, but like I said, we are not going to worry about topology because even though as bad as it is, it's not going to mess with anything that we're doing. Like, it's not really important for our purposes for rigging to mess with the topology. So we're just going to leave the topology as is. But what we are going to do is we're going to flip all these faces inside out, or outside in, I mean. So we're going to do that by switching over to our faces. Because as you can see, this is vertice, line, faces. So we want to be in face mode. I'm going to hit A to select all. I'm going to do Alt N. And this is going to open up our normals window here. And then I do believe you can also get to it by here. Yes, by going to mesh, and then your normals window is here as well. But again, the hotkey for it is Alt N. So there's a bunch of different things that we can do with this, but honestly, the easiest way is to just hit flip, and look at that. You're done. Easy, except we're not done. Our faces are now facing the correct direction because it's no longer red, and I'll even prove it. See, there we go. See, everything else is still red, but now this is white, right? So now everything is facing the right direction, but this piece, the mesh on this is still pretty bad. It's got a lot of vertices that we don't need. And it's vertices that you can't see. So I don't want to mess with the overall topology of this, but I do want to get rid of any data that we just can't see because it's so tiny. So we're actually going to switch back over to our vertice mode, and we're going to hit A to select all. And then we're going to hit the M key, just the letter M. And it's going to open up this window that says merge. And we're going to go select by distance. And it's going to open up this little box down here. So when you click on that, it'll actually give you an amount by how much you want to merge, right? And the more you go, the worse it looks. So we're actually going to keep it the way that at the value that it already was. I'm actually going to go back to M and by distance. So it was like 0.000001. And we're also going to select sharp edges. And sometimes this does something, sometimes it doesn't. I always check it just to be sure. But yeah, so we're going to do that. And we're going to go back to tab and, oh, that looks horrible. Huh. Oh, that's awful. Well, it's a good thing I know how to fix that. So once you get out of edit mode and you go back to object mode by pressing tab, we're actually going to right click it and we're going to click shade auto smooth, and oh, that looks better. But as you can see, we're actually losing a little bit of detail. But what that does is it adds a modifier to this object so that you can select how many or how much angle you want to show. So you can find this over here in the modifiers tab. So as you can see, at default it's at 30, but we actually want to reduce this to get some of that detail back. So you can see some of that detail starting to come back. I'm happy with it right about there. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. That definitely looks a lot better than it did before, that's for sure. All right, so you don't necessarily have to apply this. I'm not entirely sure if it like slows anything down. I never really have any issues, even with more complicated mocks. If it's not applied, you can if you want to, but it's up to you. So pretty much you have to do this for every single one of these pieces. But I'm going to show you a really cool trick, okay? And if you remember a little while ago, I was telling you about how it pays to have similar parts. And what I mean by that, again, what I meant by that is having parts that looked similar but were different, but swapping those parts out for parts that were all the same. So, for example, this shell piece right here. So we want to go ahead and flip the normals on this. So I'm just going to go tab and go to face, hit A, Alt N again, and flip. Oh, wow. Look at that. Look what happened. So I have 6 of these shell pieces here, but when I edited one, all of them flipped. That's pretty crazy, right? And that's why I said what I said. I said that if you're going to have a piece, try to make sure that you're using as many of that single piece as possible on the mock. Because what Blender does is it automatically groups all of these pieces together that have similar data. And the more pieces that you have like that, the faster you'll be able to get through this step. That way you don't have to go through and individually do every single piece. But yeah, and also, and it does work. It does work in edit mode. So whenever you're in edit mode and you move a face around, it does that for all of the pieces. So that means if we go to vertice mode and we hit A and then M to merge our vertices, it will do that for all of those pieces. And also, as you can see down at the bottom here, I wasn't sure if you caught that or not, but if you did, it said it removes so many vertices, and that's a good thing. We want to get rid of those vertices that we can't see. So as you can see, it's having the same shading issue that the chest piece was having, and we'll fix that here in a second. But before I do fix that, there is something that you can do. And if you don't want these pieces grouped together, so like let's say I wanted just to edit this piece by itself without affecting all of the other ones, we can ungroup it. So we can do that by going to Object and Relations, Make Single User, Object, and Data. And we just want to do object and data. If you do materials, it's going to create a whole second material, and we don't want that. So just do object and data. So what's going to happen now is that if I move a vertice on this piece, it's not going to do it to all the other ones. because now this is a single piece. And alternatively, so I'm actually gonna real quick make this a single user as well, because now this one is all by itself. But let's say I still want these two grouped together, but I want them separate from these four. So I'm going to select these two. So I'm going to go to Object, Link Transfer Data, and we're just going to do Link Object Data. So now, if I move this vertice, it's going to do the same thing on the other side. And it also mirrors it too, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that's pretty much how you do that. But again, it's not affecting these other ones down here. So if you want those to stay grouped together, you can. But if you want to make them into separate pieces, you can do that too. It's all in the fun of doing this. But I will warn you, if you decide to do this, wait until we start getting into materials. Wait till we start getting into the texturing part or into the color part, because what's going to happen is that when you assign a color to one piece, it'll assign it to the rest. And if that's what you want, that's great. For him, I know that's not quite what we want, but again, we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, like I would wait until we get to the coloring part to start separating pieces. So for right now, I kind of want all of these linked together. So I'm actually going to go ahead and go to Object, Link, and Link Object Data. So now all of these should, yeah, perfect, awesome, cool. So yeah, and again, we actually need to go through and fix this shading issue once more, and ew, it looks so gross. So we're actually going to decrease that until I think 20 is a good number. Unfortunately, the only thing that doesn't transfer over is modifiers. That's the only thing that doesn't transfer the other pieces automatically. But there is an easy way to add a modifier to pieces without having to individually add the modifier. And that is to select the first one and then select all of your other ones. We're going to go F3 and then copy modifiers. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Actually, I think it's the other way around. I don't usually do this, but oh, here we go. Copy modifiers. There we go. That's what we wanted. So we wanted to copy the modifier from this piece to the other pieces. So that's a pretty easy way to do that. And yeah, that's pretty much how you do that pretty quickly. So now here comes the tedious step. You still have to do this for every single piece. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, look at that. He's looking so much better than he was before. And he's not red anymore, which is good because he's not Furno. So anyway, so he looks pretty good. So pretty much that's about it for the mesh. So now we can actually move on to the color, because like I said, you know, we couldn't import color from Studio into Blender. So now we actually need to give him a little bit of color.